This right here.
Hello there, I'm
Carl
Herson,
Harrison.
and I've
You
played
did hear
Sid
that
Meier's
right.
Civilization
From
7.
played
That's
Civilization.
very
The designer on
exciting
the
to
Civilization
say.
7 Myers.
This
is
well,
me.
I've played
This is
Civilization
RT
7.
Game Daniel.
And
Me and
I
him
thought
were on a
it'd be a
flight
good
on our way to
idea,
Baltimore because we went to the
to
Firaxis
talk about
offices.
it.
So, I did not play Civilization 7. However, since the gameplay reveal, I've pored over the videos and discussions from people who have. While much of what I've seen excites me, I do have some concerns. Before I give my thoughts on the direction Civ 7 seems to be taking the series, let's quickly recap a couple of the major changes that have been revealed. Commanders replaced Great Generals in Civ 7 and served to streamline the unit promotion system, earning XP in place of their subordinates and granting the effects of their promotions in an area of effect around them. Tile micromanagement is a thing of the past. Cities now gain the yields of all tiles in their borders without needing to dedicate a citizen to working them. There are no longer distinct types of districts. Instead, there's now only one type of district, and it can hold any type of building in it up to a building cap, with adjacency bonuses now tied to the buildings themselves. I could go on and on about all of these changes and what they mean for Civ 7, but what I really want to do is focus on one big change that I feel is at the heart of what Firaxis is attempting to accomplish with this game: the age system. In Civilization 7, the game is divided into 3 distinct ages: the Antiquity Age, the Exploration Age, and the Modern Age. These ages are discreetly separated. They have their own technology trees, their own buildings, their own units and wonders. Advancing to the next age instantly grants all technologies from the previous age and essentially serves as a soft reset on the game. It's very important to note that civilizations cannot advance to the next age individually. Rather, the game as a whole is what advances to the next age, and it takes all of the civilizations in the game along with it. For instance, if you fill out the Antiquity Age tech tree, but the game isn't ready to advance to the Exploration Age yet, you simply can't research anything at all until the age progresses. In a similar vein, if the age progresses to the Exploration Age while you're only halfway through the Antiquity Age tech tree, you'll instantly be granted all of the Antiquity Age technologies and be brought up to speed with everyone else. Alongside the age system comes a new mechanic known as Crises, whereby new threats emerge and the game briefly enters a period of great danger. Players are forced to slot in crisis policy cards which harm their civilization, and must face a variety of other threats, such as raging independent powers sending hostile armies against them. The goal of Firaxis adding ages and crises to Civ 7 is clear. They want to fix the 4X late game. In general, 4X strategy games struggle to remain engaging into the later stages of the game. The problem simply comes down to the fact that these games are inherently about snowballing advantages. Whoever gets ahead early tends to stay ahead, resulting in scenarios where the game's result ends up being rather obvious hours before it reaches its actual conclusion, resulting in players mindlessly clicking next turn while coasting to a boring victory. This problem is exacerbated by the way AI opponents tend to be designed in these types of games. In the Sid Meier's Civilization game series specifically, setting the AI difficulty to a higher level simply results in the computer being granted massive, immediate advantages, rather than the AI actually becoming smarter. This means that the typical progression of a game of Civilization 6 on the highest AI difficulty setting is that the player starts out massively behind the AI, then has to claw their way back to parity in the mid-game, and then gets to coast to victory easily in the late game, where the AI struggles to navigate the complexity of the Civ 6 late game. The problem with this progression curve is that it results in a hyper-difficult, restart-heavy early game, a tense and engaging middle game, and a boring late game. Firaxis hopes to replace this progression with a newer, more engaging one via the use of ages and crises. Ages, you see, are the opposite of a snowballing mechanic. They're what's known as a rubber banding mechanic, as they bring the players who are in the lead and the players who've fallen behind back in line with one another. Even if a player pulls ahead substantially in technologies in the Antiquity Age, it won't really matter once the Exploration Age starts, as every single civilization instantly achieves technological parity at the start of each age. Furthermore, Crises are added to the game as a new difficulty level for Firaxis to play around with. By creating crises for the player to deal with, the most intense moments of the game can now occur at the end of each age, rather than at the beginning, which should keep players more engaged with the game. Increasing the in-game difficulty no longer needs to be limited to simply front-loading other civilizations with a bunch of advantages, with Crises adding a new, potentially healthier balance lever to play with. All in all, these systems are a rather ingenious strategy to create a more engaging difficulty curve over the course of a campaign than we've seen in any previous 4X title. However, they all have one major flaw. They were not designed with multiplayer in mind. You see, the 4X late game problem that Firaxis is trying so desperately to fix is an illusion. It's not actually a problem with the design of these games at all. It's simply a problem with the AI opponents. In the deepest depths of the dark web, hidden from Sid Meier's gaze, there actually exists a thriving community of competitive players who manage to stay fully engaged even well into the late game of Civilization 6. By having skilled players controlling all of the civilizations instead of lousy AI, this community has unlocked the full potential of Civilization 6's late game. Just a few days ago, I played a game in which a space race was decided by the absolute slimmest of margins. In Civ 6, a science victory is achieved as soon as an exoplanet expedition travels 25 light years, with an expedition traveling 1 light year per turn. However, this journey can be sped up by constructing laser stations in our cities. On turn 107, Persia unlocks the ability to construct laser stations 1 turn earlier than I do, putting me at a huge disadvantage. On turn 107, his expedition travels 3 light years, while mine travels just 1. On turn 108, however, I'm able to use a massive number of builders I'd prepared ahead of time to remove all of my tile improvements and tear up all of my natural resources to finish a whopping 9 laser stations in 1 turn. Now, my expedition travels 10 light years per turn, while his travels just 9. On the final turn of the game, I managed to finish another 7 laser stations, pushing our expedition to 17 light years per turn, while Persia is still on a mere 11 per turn. This allows me to just barely eke out a victory by the skin of my teeth, with my exoplanet expedition arriving while Persia's is still just a handful of light years away. All this is just to illustrate that a tense, interesting late game not only can exist in 4X strategy games, it already does. And this leads into my greatest fear for Civ 7. In their efforts to fix the late game, Firaxis may have inadvertently ruined what's made it work so far. What we've learned recently about Civ 7 does not bode well for its potential as a competitive multiplayer game. The main obstacle to competitive play, unfortunately, is at the core of the game's design, the age system. Let's dive into the problems with it. One thing I've neglected to mention so far is the fact that, as the ages progress in Civ 7, the game map literally expands. Initially, the game begins on a rather small map populated by only 5 civilizations, but with each age, the borders of the map grow and reveal new territory, with new AI civilizations being added to the game to populate these new regions. This is a neat gimmick for a single-player game, but it presents massive problems for a competitive multiplayer game. First off, a limit of 5 players for the Antiquity era, which has been confirmed by the game's Steam page, is very low compared to historical multiplayer game sizes of 8 and 10 players for previous Civ titles. Secondly, adding in new civilizations mid-game creates a problem. AI civilizations are notoriously easy to take advantage of by human players, and as such, they are never included in competitive multiplayer. Unless there's a way to disable this feature, the multiplayer Civ 7 experience will suffer. Worst of all, however, is what the Steam page for Civ 7 has to say about multiplayer. It reads as follows. Multiplayer matches can be epic multi-age campaigns, or take place in a single age so you can enjoy an entire game in a single session. The problem with single-age multiplayer games is that these are unlikely to be able to properly scratch the itch for long-term planning and strategy that previous Civilization titles have managed to do. As the game is not out yet, it's too early to draw a complete conclusion. Ultimately, even in the worst case scenario, it's not like it's the end of the world here. The single-player community gets a fun new 4X game to play around with, while the competitive multiplayer community would simply stay behind and continue playing Civ 6. I don't exactly imagine Firaxis will be losing sleep over this, as the simple fact of the matter is that the vast majority of their core player base stays entirely within the realm of single-player. In either case, I still know I'll be buying Civ 7 and covering my experience with the game when it releases, and you can rest assured that there will be more content on this channel covering Civ 6 multiplayer in the meantime. Thanks for watching to the end. Herson, signing out.